listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today, we're talking about stupidity in a way that is rarely spoken. Is there such a thing as collective stupidity? The show today comes from an article written by a neuroscientist who cites peer review data about a syndrome where people think they are more intelligent than they really are in a particular situation. This neuroscientist sees stupidity as a threat to the United States and our way of life. We're going to unpack stupidity from an energy point of view. Frankly, I think you'll be shocked.
I was shocked.
Okay, stay tuned. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, in this article, it states that stupidity is not the lack of intelligence or knowledge, but the lack of awareness of the limits of one's intelligence or knowledge. What do you think about that?
You know, I was so excited about this article because we've been talking about this for a long time.
We have.
And it's hard to say to someone who's got a lot of knowledge or intelligence, high IQ scores, all those things, and say, not that they're stupid, but they're missing some stuff.
Right.
And today we're going to talk about this because it in the article, he was talking about things that he didn't like and stuff that I agree with also.
Okay.
But
you're talking about out in the world.
Yes, out in the world.
All right.
Politics was one of them.
Okay.
But he also was talking about alternative medicine, and I have a counterpoint to what he was saying.
Okay.
And there's another big part of that where I see this phenomenon we'll talk about extends to everybody, and including us. We're going to raise our hands. This was us, and we'll.
He's raising his hand. I'm not.
And we'll talk about this, going
Okay.
forward. So,
Okay.
and I realize that stupidity is a charged word, but oh my gosh,
Truly.
there's been so many people that have come to us recently and over the years and say, how can that person be so stupid?
Right.
So we're going to talk about that today.
Yes. Okay. All right.
So this article is talking about politics and alternative medicine and the claims made.
Okay.
But he talks about this is the
name of this
phenomenon. It's a psychological phenomenon that's been peer reviewed and has a lot of credibility in the psychological community. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Okay.
And that it says that, he does, this isn't from the Dunning-Kruger, but it says stupidity is not the lack of intelligence or knowledge, but the lack of awareness of the limits of one's intelligence or knowledge.
Okay.
Now, think about that just for a minute. It's not that if you have a lot of knowledge, it doesn't mean that you're stupid. The Dunning-Kruger effect is saying, well, if you have this knowledge over here, you try and apply it
over there. Okay.
And that's where you become stupid. A best example,
okay,
and I pick on this guy a lot, but I think he deserves it, is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's been brilliant in a lot of different areas.
Yes.
Except when he bought Twitter.
Except when he's not.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So, and that's a whole nother discussion.
Okay.
Another example is Richard Branson.
Owner of Virgin.
Virgin Airline, Virgin
Records.
Virgin Records. I think there's a steamship line.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of virgins connected to Richard Branson. Anyways.
Lucky him.
So, he said that he was the dumbest person in school and had dyslexia, and that if he took an IQ test, he would score very low.
Okay.
But his success came from seeing his own limitations and objectively overcoming them by using extremely competent people.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good example of overcoming the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Well, and I want to say, Jason, stupidity is not the lack of knowledge. I want to make sure that everyone understands that. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the lack of education. We're not talking about even the lack of what you learn in everyday life. We're talking about the lack of someone's awareness
of things that are outside of themselves or
Yes.
within themselves.
Yes, yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
and
yes.
some of the stupidest people that we've seen have people with advanced degrees.
Yeah.
And frankly, some of the smartest people are the ones who seem to have no real education or whatever, but they just have this sense they know what's going on.
Right.
And we'll talk about this some more.
Okay. So let's talk about
yeah.
Oops. I touched something wrong. Sorry. How does programming hurt you or narrow your awareness of your limits or where you are?
We've been talking about this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Programming, by definition, reduces your awareness of your limits and knowledge, because programming says focus on the goal, focus on your objectives.
Okay.
And it doesn't say, well, should I do this objective? Should I have this objective?
Well, can I say that
Yeah.
a little different?
Yeah.
It doesn't give you the opportunity to ask yourself, should I focus on this goal? Should I focus on this objective? It just says you should.
Yes.
And
then keep trying, keep being persistent,
Right.
focusing,
right.
driving hard,
Right. Yes.
and in that drive to accomplish your goal or objective, you lose everything else around you.
Well, it's I find it very interesting because so many people, well, if two people step into the same room, and all of us have heard this, if something happens and two people are standing side by side, they're the same height, they're even the same gender, I'll say it that way. One person will see so much and the other person could see
Yes.
some of that, but not all of it. And they see other things as well.
We've had, client adjacent. So in other words, we have people come to us and they have someone in their life who's got a lot of education, a lot of success, and they're trying to deal with their stupidity. The person with the education and the success,
Correct.
because if you have
It's true.
success, then
It's
there's a
true.
belief in our culture
Yes.
that you know everything, that you're credible in everything, i.e. Elon Musk again.
Okay.
So
all right. So is the world of subtle energy essential to our awareness and of ourselves and the world around us?
here's our point for the show. This is
Okay.
what makes me obnoxious with my wife in the middle of the night. I said, Patricia, think about this, and she's actually,
he's not kidding, everybody.
she's actually made a rule for me that I can't talk to her about something that's really interesting or exciting after a certain time.
Because what happens is, and I know this is going to sound a little ridiculous, but I need time to, calm down. And when I get asked I'm going to say a form of a provocative, interesting subject, what I do is I turn back on and he can go to sleep, but I can't.
It's the funniest thing because
Funny for him. Yeah, he can sleep.
That's why I'm gonna say this on the radio.
Okay.
We don't have firearms right next to our bed. And there's a reason for that, because she gets so angry because I'll say, what about this? And what about this?
And then all of a sudden,
and then I'll just 2 seconds later, I'll be fast asleep and she'll be wide awake. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's a whole other show. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, that's not a bad show though.
But here's the point.
Okay.
The subtle energy is essential to our awareness of ourselves and the world around us.
Right.
You have to. I mean, we've been discredited, people cross the street when they talk about intuition, but this subtle energy that we're talking about is using the ecosystem approach.
Correct.
And developing refined intuition, evolved consciousness. And we've coined those words for ourselves because you can't just have intuition. You can't just have consciousness. You have to refine it. which is
Exactly.
what we've been doing. And OMG, we've been doing this for now 23 years now. And we start to say, oh my gosh, we see this, we see that, and we see all these things. And we're going to be talking about this in the next segment too. But it's like the whole world opens up in a way that we didn't see before. It's not like some of these things we didn't see. It's sort of like black and white TV. If for some of you that are old enough to remember that, some of the, if you're Gen Z, or you won't remember that at all, but
You
we
weren't
do.
around when it
We do.
existed. Yes.
Just think of one of those 1080p televisions versus the 4K televisions today. Yeah, she doesn't know what I'm talking about. So, anyways, but the idea that it used to be black and white, we could see our life in black and white.
Correct.
But when we have this 4K picture, we see the details, we see the inner relationships
and the nuances
that we never saw before.
And by the way, and since we started with ourselves, we've seen things about ourselves that we had no idea existed, or if we did, we ignored it when someone said something to us about it.
And the reason that's important, is that when you see those subtleties, you can clear them with being very, very specific.
Right.
And that's what creates the evolved consciousness. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So in lieu of time, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Stupidity is not the lack of knowledge, but the lack of awareness of the limits of one's ability and knowledge.
Okay.
Programming, by definition, you focus on your goal, reduces your awareness of your limits and knowledge by making you stupid.
Okay.
We live in a world of subtle energy and capriciousness and whimsy that must factor into seeing ourselves in the world. Energy is not black and white, compartmentalized, this versus that. It flows.
Okay.
And the ecosystem approach teaches you to overcome the negative effects of programming and to engage in the world with the energy around you. It's amazing.
I love it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the nature of collective stupidity and how it works in the world, and the importance of refined intuition and evolved consciousness to overcome collective stupidity in all areas of our lives. I mean, that's amazing. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the nature of collective stupidity, subject of today, and how it works in the world, and the importance of refined intuition and evolved consciousness to overcome collective stupidity in all areas of our lives. Jason, can you explain collective stupidity from an energy perspective?
It's connected to what we learned in The Secret, that like energies attract like energies.
Oh, okay.
But that concept is really misunderstood because a lot of people think that they can force themselves to have a specific energy. So in other words, if you just focus on the positive, then you'll have positive energy. And we see as intuitives, that's not true at all. If you're depressed and you just keep saying to yourself over and over again, I'm happy, I'm grateful, I'm alive,
I'm a good person, I'm happy, all of these things, the affirmations,
it doesn't make a difference. That energy of depression is what you attract.
Right.
And that trauma that you have from your past is still there.
Right.
So it also applies collectively. So when Trump says the wind turbines are causing cancer, then and the guy next to you says, oh yeah, that makes sense. And the guy next to him says, oh yeah, that makes sense. You're saying, oh my gosh, that makes sense. And it doesn't. There's no science there at all. That's where this is the time of conspiracy theories that have gone amok.
Yes.
And
by the way, I'm going to say this. Normally I don't speak up like this, but those conspiracy theories are collective stupidity.
Yes, that was the whole point of the article. And he was pointing directly at Trump and MAGA Republicans. Some of the beliefs, they're just crazy, but then he went off to talk about alternative medicine. We're going to talk about that in just a
Well,
second.
but I want to
Yeah.
touch on it because we're still here. What about dementia and Alzheimer's, Jason?
Okay, well, that's a great application of what we're talking about.
Okay.
That if you use the ecosystem approach and you have this awareness of yourself, you have this awareness of your motives.
Mm-hmm.
What most people don't see
About
is that dementia, Alzheimer's, which we've heard so many people come to us, I'm afraid, I can't remember a word, so yes, I'm terrified, I can't remember a word, so therefore I've got dementia, or I'm having, coming down with dementia, those sorts of things. And but we see people in our lives attracted.
Yes.
And we see this with my mom, who has dementia, and it's very clear to us, at some level of consciousness, people with dementia and Alzheimer's would rather check out
and live in la la land,
because it's less emotionally painful.
Correct.
And when you start using the ecosystem approach, what happens is you start looking at those areas of pain in your life, and you remove them, you clear them.
In other words, what you're essentially saying is dementia and Alzheimer's, and diseases of the like, we'll put it that way. They're a way for people to, if you use the ecosystem approach, then you could, at the very least, lessen or even half
perceive your own trauma that's acting upon you in the moment.
Correct.
All diseases, I made that's a definitive statement. Cancer, heart disease, you name it, all the other ones, are there because of some sort of negative feelings, negative emotions.
Right.
Well, and it doesn't
diabetes is another one.
Diabetes is another one. It's we think that if we get screened, which is I think is a form of collective stupidity, that we could prevent cancer by being screened, by catching it early. That doesn't prevent it at all. Oh my gosh. I mean,
no, it just shows you when you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they talk about lifestyle, but lifestyle doesn't necessarily prevent it, because you can have trauma in a good example is sexual abuse. People who have been sexually abused, men and women, those traumas, those energies don't go away.
No.
And so when you're programmed to focus on your goal, you're focused over here on a goal, but this trauma is acting upon you, and you try and push it aside and forget it and move it away from you, but it's still there.
Correct.
When you start using the ecosystem approach, it's like, okay, we have to put that on the table. We have to start removing that.
Yes.
And that's where the big possibilities for health and healing happens.
Exactly.
So, and the medical profession is a big part of this collective stupidity, because they think, I know all about the pathology.
Right.
So therefore,
I've proven it with a formula.
Yes, I don't have to look at the energy, because
well, the energy
I'm too
isn't
smart for that.
Is important.
Yes,
which is just not true.
So
we have seen the energy we've seen things change when we change the energy. That's what I'm trying to say. So the article mentions politics in a term of collective stupidity. I hate to ask this. How does that work, Jason?
Well, and he was definitely anti-Trump and MAGA, and I get it. We kind of feel the same way. But this article, they reference a survey of over 2,000 Americans who scored the lowest in actual knowledge of politics were the ones who overestimated their knowledge that they actually had.
Right.
That's the Dunning-Kruger effect in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
They don't really know. So all these things that people are saying about the Constitution and this is freedom, and charging the Capitol and saying, 1776, I never understood that, because I understand 1776, and there was no no relationship whatsoever that I could see. So
okay, well, and one of the things when I read this about the 2,000 Americans, the first thing I saw was that these 2,000 Americans, they all had a form of righteousness.
And which was part of the collective stupidity.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I'm going to stand in the center here and say, on both sides of politics, there is righteousness, and this righteousness is a negative energy that keeps all of us from being able to see whatever the problem is from a 360 view. It's one of the best things about the ecosystem approach is it helps you understand a 360 view of a situation.
I know that democracy cannot survive if you can't talk about politics. Politics,
Exactly.
our democracy is healthy when someone says, well, I believe this because of this, this, and this.
Correct.
And the other person says, well, I believe this because of this, this, and this. And then they start to interact with those two beliefs and see if they can find something.
But when righteousness is in the middle of it, it
It's
basically says from one side to the other and the other back.
If you don't agree with me, you're bad.
If you don't agree with me, you're bad. And I have the right to deal with you my way.
That's why guns have become so important. But
Yes.
anyways,
But
here's the other thing that I think is more nuanced that I really like.
Okay.
He was also taking a jab at alternative medicine, and he said if you look on the internet, you can find someone who'll say this alternative protocol will cure cancer.
Okay.
And he was saying, well, that's a form of collective stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
I know when my daughter when she was 14, this was some time ago, she had cancer. We used alternative medicine, and we used a homeopathic guy from Brazil who's really well known. We used some there was a Native American blood cleanser.
Protocol thing.
None of those seemed to work.
Okay.
We did use an alternative protocol to determine which modality she would use, and she chose chemotherapy. And we chose after four cycles instead of the prescribed 6 to stop.
Okay.
And the doctor said she would die. She didn't die. So from my takeaway from all of that was alternative medicine didn't really help us. Traditional medicine helped us, but they said she was going to die if she didn't do it their way. And we said no.
Okay.
And she didn't die.
Right.
In fact, we're expecting our second grandchild in August. So she's very healthy and happy. So that's where refined intuition and evolved consciousness. There's more than what you can see scientifically. And when you can start to see with energy in a way that you're confident to say, yeah, I get this. I see that happening.
Right.
People come to us, they've been working with us for a while, and they see stuff, but they don't trust themselves because there's so much collective programming, collective stupidity that says, oh, that can't be right.
Exactly. Well, and I want to put this one little thing in there. In the last election, and the one prior to that, it divided my family to the point of not speaking for months because of the collective stupidity. And it really hurt us all. And of course, I was the one to speak up and say, wait a minute, we shouldn't let this, here, get in the way of all of us. And I have to admit, there's still a small part of it that is there, but I have a way of speaking up.
Yeah, well, and frankly, when we get together now, I don't know that we ever had meaningful conversation, but there's none now.
None now, exactly. So with all of that said,
your family's really good at meaningless conversations. So
he loves them. Anyway, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Programming has created a culture where we're focused on goals. We're stupid about energies. We're stupid about refined intuition, evolved consciousness.
Correct.
There is a collective stupidity for those who arrogantly claim expertise in all areas, and we believe it. We didn't really touch on that, but that was part of the Dunning-Kruger. He was saying that when someone says with great confidence, I know this, follow me.
Right.
People with the Dunning-Kruger effect will often say, well, he must know, so I'm gonna believe him. I'm gonna follow him, and that's been part of the problems in our politics, is that we don't hold anybody accountable for stuff that they say that is just obviously really off.
Okay.
And then alternative and traditional medicine both can be wrong because they miss the subtle energy connection. And the ecosystem approach was designed to be the expert in your life without illusion or delusion. That's what we're aiming for.
Yes. In the next segment, we're going to talk about what to do about our personal stupidity or lack of awareness, or just plain numbness to life that we all have, and how to create greater awareness so we can have evolved consciousness and refined intuition. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about our personal stupidity. He's not talking about me, I'm sure of it. Or lack of awareness, or just plain numbness to life that we all have, and how to create greater awareness so we can have evolved consciousness and refined intuition. So, okay, Jason, I know you're not calling me stupid, but what do you mean by lack of awareness and numbness to life?
Well, we all have it, and we remember. It's not that it's not black and white. It's not that we don't have any more stupidity or lack of awareness of stuff in our life. For you and I right now,
Okay.
we're still working on that. We get insights every single day, but we can go back and remember, 20, 23 years ago.
Yes.
And
farther, but yes.
Yes, and our view of the way our life was is so much different today, because we see it much more clearly.
Right.
And here's the thing, when you start to remove negative energy, and then you see this with more clarity, like we're talking about, you can be more specific. And by the way, that's one of the best advantages to the ecosystem approach, because when you can be hyper specific,
yes,
you can have more power in removing that negative energy from your energy field, from your essence.
Well, and
and that's what distinguishes us between all the other modalities out there that are working with energy. It's not enough to clear negative energy or bad energy or fear or anger.
Right.
It gets really powerful when you can say, and to eliminate my anger about when my sister said this to me back when I was a child and got me in trouble instead of her. That's a very specific clearing statement.
It is.
But that's the kind of clearing statement that's really powerful. And we see that as we do that for ourselves, our awareness, our clarity about what's happening in the world is so about what's happening in the world and what's happening with us.
Correct.
Is so much more effective.
Yes.
Even for healing, for all sorts of things.
Right. Well, and one of the best things about removing the negative energy specifically, you can be objective about your strengths and your weaknesses, correct?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then, but are you able to say that nothing with, I'm not clear on what I want to say here.
Well, it's when you have this clarity, a lot of people, for example, might not be aware of how harsh they come across when they talk to people.
That's a big one.
Because that's that black and white TV versus the full color.
Correct.
They know they're talking to people. They know that they're a little harsh, but they don't know how harsh that they really are.
Right.
They can see whether they're likable or not likable. They can see, oh yeah, I've got charisma in this situation, but they may not know how to use it.
Well, and that's the numbness.
Yes.
Right there. That's the numbness.
Or what we're calling today is the stupidity.
Yes.
You may have charisma, but you may not be able to see it or know how to use it or apply it in the world. Right. That's because you need to be more and more specific with your clearing. And you do that by understanding your emotional story.
Okay.
Using the ecosystem approach, first of all, using the ecosystem approach.
Sure.
Using your emotional story and getting very, very specific with that story. And oh, by the way, if you've got that feeling back down the back of your neck, or your hair is being raised in the back of your neck, and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is for me. I've got to have this. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. You'll get the clearings every single week. You'll get a little blurb about what we're talking about. And
oftentimes he makes jokes about me.
And often there are things that there's content that we have on our website that's totally free. There's a lot of content there
there
that you
really
can
is.
access
Yeah.
just by signing up.
Yes.
So do that right now.
Okay.
Ecosystemapproach.org.
Okay. So, Jason, what do you say to those in the audience who are thinking, aren't you acting out your own Dunning-Kruger effect by saying you have these insights without proof?
That's been one of the struggles with people that have intuition, clairvoyance, which we all should have, evolved consciousness.
Well, actually, we've all been given the ability to have them. Absolutely.
Right. But without refinement, without having refined intuition, without having evolved consciousness, people say, well, I'm just guessing. And they are. And we can see for ourselves that back, and this is a little embarrassing for me to admit. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember when we first started, I thought I was far more evolved than I really was. And I'm acknowledging that now.
Okay.
You know, and I see how far I've come, but I also see how far I have to go now with much more clarity than I did back then.
Okay.
And it's not like there's a goal or an exit point, but I know that we've removed so much negative energy. I can see it now with much more clarity than I did before. That's refined intuition. And I'm willing to be wrong. I think most people will not prove me wrong, as opposed to, well, here, I've got a little more clarity about this over here.
Yeah.
Or I've got a little more clarity about this over here. Or you said this, but actually there's more nuance than that. And that's the clarity. And I know that some of you listening right now are going to develop your own refined intuition and evolved consciousness.
Yes.
And complete that picture. You're going to be part of the 47K colors on our screen.
There you go.
And you're going to apply it to music and to healthcare and to money and to all sorts of
relationships.
Relationships.
And you know, one of the things, this just popped in for me. One of the things that that the ecosystem approach has done, not only for me but for many, it takes the arrogance out of knowing and what you don't know in a way that you will not expect, because you see, wait a minute, maybe I was seeing that from a different perspective. And I'm going to add, when you start using the ecosystem approach, it enables you to see things not from one perspective or a straightforward perspective, but from a 360 perspective. And along the way, you see negative energies that are in your way of the clarity that you need and want for your life.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It really is.
It's amazing to me.
You know, using the ecosystem approach, you can validate yourself as you go through this process. So in other words, you don't need someone else outside of yourself, because that's the way you've been programmed.
Correct.
To say, oh, I've given you an IQ test, so that's how smart you are.
Oh, yeah.
You should never let someone tell you how smart you are. And the best way to do it is for yourself. And that's frankly why we do it the way we do it. We're not trying to be the expert for you to tell you to be essential to you in your life going forward. We want to train you to have your own refined intuition, your own evolved consciousness, so that you can use this on your own behalf. And hopefully you have a clearing buddy like I do, and someone you can collaborate with going forward, so that you can get some feedback. Because you'll want that. You want to know. You want to know the truth. You want to. I want to know.
Exactly. And the other thing is I don't know anybody who doesn't want to be validated for who they are and what they do, or they think they want to be validated, but they go to somebody else for that validation.
Yes.
And that does, when
that
you have
sets you up.
It sets you up. And when you have refined intuition, it really helps you go, I know this.
Well, here's the point. Here's the major point.
Okay.
There's always dark energy that wants to block you from seeing yourself or others clearly.
Correct.
Because its power comes from those illusions and delusions you have about yourself and about others and about the situation.
Correct.
OMG, that is so huge. So when you start to remove that negative energy, you start to have the clarity. And without removing the negative energy, I don't care how many courses you take, how many PhDs you have, you're not going to be able to see it clearly.
Exactly. So, let's do the key points, but then after that, let's tell everyone
Okay.
how to remove negative energy.
The more one removes negative energy, the more specific you can be about identifying the negative energy. Oh, that's so huge.
It is.
Using the ecosystem approach, you can validate yourself as you go through this process. And people that stand up and say, I know something, you can validate them and you gain insights which help you progress.
Okay.
Dark energy that wants to block you from seeing yourself clearly because its power comes from its delusions. The delusions it creates about you and what's
numbness and all of those things.
The ecosystem approach teaches you to have refined intuition and evolved consciousness by systematically removing the negative energy in your life, which is what we've been doing for the last 23 years.
Exactly.
So we know it works. Yes.
Exactly. So, Jason, with that said, can you explain to everyone how to remove negative energy?
It's your posture doesn't matter. You can stand, sit, walk, lay down.
Okay.
You can be hanging from a rope someplace and be clearing.
One of my favorite places is when I'm exercising.
Yeah.
Nobody's bothering me, so to speak, and I can do things while I'm exercising.
I saw this on the news this morning. There was a Southwest plane that filled with smoke and it took a nosedive and they landed safely. But if I was in that situation, I'd be clearing. That's really, really effective. So anyways, so you can do it in all such situations. You don't have to be reverent. A lot of people think you have to be respectful or reverent. It's
be respectful of yourself, everyone.
Do the process for the energy.
Exactly.
And so when we say and to eliminate, we'll talk about an emotion, a complex emotion, like my anger at my sister because she does this specific thing, and then gather that up in your body, in your mind's eye, in your imagination, gather it up, blow it into the processor. You can see the processor on the screen right now. Jacob's putting it up.
Yes, thank you.
And it goes
Jacob.
in the top, comes out the front, neutral. So it goes in negative energy, comes out neutral.
And by the way, that not only helps you, but it helps our entire environment.
Breathing harder doesn't help.
Yes. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to activate life force energy. Life force energy is the most powerful energy that any of us has access to. You're going to pull it in through the top of your head. You're going to let it go all the way down your body. You're going to stop it at the tips of your toes. You're going to ask it to turn around, and you're going to ask it when you blow out that breath, you're going to blow out negative energy into that processor again. So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you start to remove the negative energy related to your stupidity and numbness that you have about yourself and to the world, and how it works in an objective way. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you start to remove the negative energy related to your stupidity and the numbness you have about yourself and to the world, and how it works in an objective way. You ready to go, Jason?
Here we go.
All right.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can see that stupidity is not about knowledge. It's about the lack of awareness in my personal life and in the life around me.
Nice.
Take a breath.
Take a breath. And blow out that negative energy, that block that's keeping you from that awareness. I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit, and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that collective stupidity happens when we believe others' arrogance about their abilities. That's a really good one. So I release and let go of it, take a breath, and blow it out.
And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress I have when I program myself or just focus on goals. Take a breath.
One of the things that I do, especially if I'm cooking for a large crowd, which I do occasionally, is I have a goal. I admit I have a goal. This needs to be done at this time. But one of the things that I do several times is I will actually literally, physically take a step back and look around to see that I've seen everything that needs to be taken care of. And I do it by the way, by taking a breath and then blowing it out. and asking for awareness to see what I need to see.
Or removing negative energies that keeps you from seeing what you need to see.
That's exactly right. So keep on going, and to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame I have that is energy that I can remove by knowing the specifics. Nice and easy. Take a breath and throw it away.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that focusing on goals only makes me stupid about my feelings and people around me.
It's a good one.
Take a breath. And that's so contrary to what we're taught,
Yes.
Get your goal, focus on it, be persistent,
Yes.
keep going.
Take no prisoners, so to
Yes.
speak. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the more you remove bad energy, the more specific you can be when clearing or removing negative energy. Take a breath and blow it out.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror I have about the beginning of illness and disease because I'm numb to my own energies.
Right. Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that everyone needs to understand, well, and work with their own energies and how they work. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resentment I have about the focus on goals and objectives when in reality it makes me stupid. I would be angry about that too. We've been programmed in a way that has just been wrong.
Take a breath.
Or not in our best interest. I guess that's a better way of saying it.
And so take that not in our best interest and throw it away. And to eliminate any resistance I have to seeing how dark energies block me from seeing myself objectively and being able to help myself by removing that dark energy. And by the way, dark energy, you can call it out specifically, especially if you've started to gain refined energy. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that everyone can have refined intuition and evolved consciousness by using the ecosystem approach.
There you go.
It's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, take a breath and blow it out. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see I've programmed myself and dulled my intuition, consciousness, and self-insight. Think about that one, everybody. We don't need to be dull or blocked or kept from seeing who we are. We're amazing. Nice and easy. Take a breath and blow out any negative energy because of it. And to eliminate, that's your turn.
It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
The veils and illusions so I can see that dark energy has power because of the delusions it creates, but they can be cleared.
Take a breath.
The delusions you have in your life are because of dark energy. That thing you don't want to see about that sexual abuse in your past, or about the way your husband is treating you, or about the way your sister is treating you, is of dark energy.
Exactly. So, and to eliminate the programming that creates delusions that say arrogant and overconfident leaders may be lying to me, and themselves. Nice and easy. Take a breath. Get rid of that energy, that programmed energy that's keeping you stuck in those delusions.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can use the ecosystem approach to reduce my stupidity and improve my self-insight.
I like that. Take a breath and blow it out. Should we activate some life force,
Let's
Jason?
do it.
All right, here we go. Follow me. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force. I'm going to call upon it to come in through the top of my head. So I can see what I need to see and remove what I need to remove so I can have the life that I want, even if I don't know exactly what that is right now. Nice and easy. Pull it in. Let it go all the way down your body. Stop it at the tips of your toes. Ask it right now to turn around and come back up by blowing out your air, which then you're using as a form of negative energy to get rid of.
And to activate life force so I can have hope to eliminate my stupidity about me and my life in a way that is truly empowering.
Nice and easy. Pull it in. That's life force. It's going in. It's healing you right now. We're stopping it. We're turning it around and blowing out the negative energy of the stupidity. and to activate life force so I can trust that the power within me exists but covered by negative energy that can be removed. Nice and easy. Pull it in. Right now, let's ask that life force to help us remove that negative energy.
And to activate life force so I can decide to focus on removing dark energy, and so I can remove the stupidity about myself, which we had in the beginning also. So take a breath.
And voila. And last one, and to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, have laughter and love, and have fun, but also be creative, be objective. In fact, even be indifferent to the negative energies around me that want to hook me and grab a hold. I release and let go all those negative energies that are keeping me from being creative and healing myself in a way that I never thought I could. Well, even 5 minutes ago. Nice and easy. Pull in that energy. It's yours. Stop it at the tips of your toes. Any negative energies left over, blow them out and blow them into the processor. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, this is kind of an extension of this show.
Oh,
because one of the biggest areas of stupidity is that we blame the wrong thing or person for the problem.
That can't be.
that who's to blame and why it's important to get that right is the title. And you can't fix a problem you don't understand. And when you're working with energy, naming the energy specifically is the key to removing it and being free of it.
Well, am I correct? I'm going to give away a little something here, but am I correct that when we blame something, that's a form of programming? Because we want to blame, we want to take those feelings that we're having and put it on something else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We had someone come to us recently and said, I need more money. I need to have, I've got a money problem. So I need more money. And after working with them for a little while, we saw that it wasn't a money problem. It was a spending problem.
Yes.
And they were using money as a drug so that whenever they had negative feelings, they would spend money.
As opposed to removing the negative feelings and figuring out what you want to spend the money on as opposed to just spending.
They were blaming the wrong thing.
Exactly. I love that.
We also see it like in sexual abuse. You'll see that someone is blaming someone later in their life for something that happened to them as a child.
Exactly. So
if we touched you today, if something is saying to you inside that says, oh my gosh, I want this. I want to have this clarity. I don't want my own stupidity anymore. And I've seen it,
I've had enough of it.
Yes. And I guarantee you, most people that have come to us over the years, it's because they didn't see something that they should have.
Right.
And this is the way to do that. So how do you do that?
Okay. I was just going to say, Jason, how do you make the ecosystem approach a bigger part of your life?
Listen to our show every week. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section that you'll get the weekly newsletter. There's a lot of content there. It'll be very, very helpful to you. And the next thing is go to our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org. We have all of our videos there. You can like us while you're there, please. We would appreciate that. And you can see us. A lot of people like to see the videos. Some people listen, but seeing at least a couple of videos is really good.
Okay, good. We'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.